Okay. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for meeting with me.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just tell me your full name, please.
Right, my name's Babubhai Vallabhai Patel,
And your date of birth, please.
48.
And your place of birth.
At Post Vegam, that's near Gujarat, Gujarat, India.
Gujarat is
in India.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe your early childhood to me?
Only that I was very naughty, so I believe. I don't know that, but yeah, I had a good, happy childhood. I started early in school, and I studied until the final, they call it there, is SSC, metric in India. First in primary schools, and then went into high school, and then I achieved the SSC exams, final results before I came here.
What sort of age is that?
Must have been 15.
Okay. You said earlier you were a naughty child,
Mm.
as told by others.
Mm-hmm.
Told by who?
Well, I can only go by my father occasionally said you were very naughty and I had to send you to school fairly quickly to get you out of mischief.
Do you remember, did he tell you any stories of you being mischievous?
Only that I was mischievous in street when I'm playing out there, and I think that carried on further ahead, if I may say so. Things in the school, I was a bit mischievous, not doing the homework at the right time and playing more than studying. But at the end of the day, I achieved the results, and that was most important for me. Yeah. So it might be mischievous to others or not working hard enough for the others. But as far as I was concerned, I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Did you enjoy school?
Mm-hmm. Really well.
Why?
I wanted to learn from the beginning anyway, so I just concentrate on study while I play, and I had plenty of friends who I can play with and be mischievous if you like. But at the end of the day, I wanted to go to school because I think that part of the upbringing from father, the father didn't study that much, and he wanted me to study. So I think I fulfilled his wish.
How many people were living in your household when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, I had my father, mother, and 4 sisters, but they're all younger than me. So 6 of us all together when the 4th sister came around.
Did your father and mother work? Yeah.
And they had a farm, very little farm, and they survived on that and brought us all up.
Did you get on with your other brothers and sisters?
I had sisters.
Sisters, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
4 sisters. And because I was the eldest, I took a role model, if you like, and they all followed. But yes, I got on well with them.
Did you have to set an example to them as well?
I don't think I can sort of quote you anything, but I think I can say that I was studying and I was more cleverer than any of my sisters, and I think I wanted them to follow that, and one of them did. I'm not sure about the others.
But was this an expectation of your parents? Did they, because Babu was the oldest, did they think, well, Babu, should set an example to the younger girls?
I don't think in them days parents actually thought that deep
Okay.
as they would now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was run of the mill that I went to school earlier than I should have done anyway. But then I went to school and they expected me to carry on studying as long as I wanted to.
Can you describe your village that you lived in?
Yes, it was a village of relatively small population. At that particular time, I would think it'd be about 1,500 in all. Various communities, castes in them days. There's still caste there. But,
Can you name a few?
well, there's Kodi Patels, that's what I am.
Mm-hmm.
There's Desai, there's Nayak, there's Brahmin, there's Mistris.
Mm-hmm. These are all different types of
These are all, yeah, well, they are all Gujaratis, but I think the caste has come around with what jobs they do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yours was?
Mine was farming.
Kodi Patel.
Kodi Patel,
Kodi
yeah.
Patel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So earlier on you said you carried on studying in India until you came to this country.
Mm-hmm.
So can you take me to the events that led up to you coming to this country?
Right. Okay. When I was about 9 or 10, my father came over here. He came by borrowing money. Most of his farm was loaned.
Mm-hmm.
He had a loan against the security of the farm. He came here and he eventually started sending some money back, and I carried on study for further 5 years. And then he sent for me because I was finishing the not higher education, it's a high school education, and then you can go to college. But he wanted me to come over here and study here, so I came back here in 64.
You came to this country in 1964?
64, yeah.
You talked about your father sending you money, and he sent money for you to come over. Did you have to say goodbye to many people in India when you left?
Yes, loads of friends, especially my family. I mean, my mother was still there, and my sisters were still there. Obviously, so I had to sort of say goodbye to them for a while anyway, because I knew that eventually they would be coming over. But besides that, I had a large friend circle whom I had to say goodbye to.
Was it difficult?
At that age, I wouldn't say it was difficult, because I was more excited to come over here than anything else. But thinking back now, it must have been difficult to leave them back there, not knowing when I'm going to see them again. Yeah. So, but at that particular time, I think I can go back, and I didn't feel hard about saying goodbye to them. Yeah.
So you were about 16?
15, between 15 and 16, I think it would be.
And how did you come over?
I came by plane to London Heathrow.
What was the journey like?
Journey was fine. Didn't notice any difference actually. It was more excitement, so I didn't even got frightened of getting on the plane and traveling. When I came to the Heathrow airport, that's when the fright came, because I didn't know, or I didn't have the acknowledgement of me stopping over at Heathrow to catch a flight to Birmingham. And you know, I learnt English very little in high school, and I knew to say yes and no, but that's about it, sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, I could read and write, but speaking languages was difficult. So I showed my ticket to the immigration officer and told him I got to go to Birmingham. So, and they said, you can't go today. That's when the fright came. So what the hell am I going to do? Yeah. But then they put me up in a hotel for the night. So they put me on a coach. Coach took me to a hotel because I sort of understood what was going on. The flight wasn't available till next day. So, but that was planned on the ticket, but I didn't have the sort of knowledge of that.
Do you remember the date that you came to this country?
5th of April, 1964. Okay, yeah. And I think it was 6th by the time I landed in Birmingham Airport. When it was stopped on a tarmac and walked across to the building, that's when I felt really cold.
In Birmingham?
In Birmingham, this was, yeah.
What were you wearing?
I was wearing the suit. Yeah, because father sent a suit over, so I was wearing a suit. But even then, he was walking across on the open field. It was cold. It felt like miles. Came through the immigration because there wasn't much problem sort of coming through. And when I came on the other side and saw my father, that's when I thought, I'm here now. Yeah. But until then, I was a bit worried.
How long had it been since you saw your father previous to this?
About 7-8 years. Yeah. He came in 57, 58, I think. Yeah, so it'd be about 6-7 years.
What happened next? Where did you go back with your father?
Came back to Bilston. That's where he was living then. He had a rented room, and he had a friend who had a little van, so they came in the van with my father, and I can remember that journey actually really well, because when he started out from there, from the airport, he stopped at the traffic light, and my father tested me out. Says, why has he stopped? And I said, well, the light's red. And he says, how did you know that? I said, well, I learned in English lessons, plus the fact that I came through Bombay and noticed the lights there anyway, traffic lights. So I can remember that little bit was sort of novelty to my father that I knew that much.
Because the last time you saw him, you would have been a child.
I would have been very child, yeah. Little.
So what was the house like in Bilston?
In Bilston, it was, as I said, a rented room where 4 of them live in there.
In one room?
In one room.
Okay.
Yeah. My father and another chap were working nights, and the other 2 were working days, so they were sleeping in the same bed, alternating. Yeah. When I came, they had to make a room, extra bed on the floor, and And I didn't sleep on the floor, but my father did, I think, occasionally. But then there were 5 of us living in the same room.
Mm-hmm. What was that like?
It was nothing like this today. There was a floorboards with a liner on the to cover, and paraffin heater to warm it up. No telly, no radio, no nothing. Just beds, bare beds, and I think there was a one cupboard where everybody hung their clothes in. Everything else in a suitcase. Yeah.
So what did you think? Is this what you expected?
Well, I didn't know what to expect because it was completely new to me anyway. I didn't expect that there were so many people living in the small room like that, because back home we got a whole house. Although there are not rooms, but it's open house and vast amount of space. So I was a bit surprised that it was just one room and there were 4 or 5 people living in the room. In the house as a whole, there were other 3 families living there. So there were lots of people living in the same house.
So what did you do for work, or did you carry on with education here, or?
Right. As soon as I came here, the father found me a friend who was working with him. During the day, he says, you can go around wherever he goes and see the places. And then one of his brother, the friend's brother, he was also looking for a job at that time. So we sort of got on together and we sort of walked around various places. And it wasn't very long before I got a job. And I was only, I think, 15, become 16 then. And they took me on at Bilston, one of the factory called Sankey, GK and Sankey. And I started work on the 11th of May. So it wasn't even
About
month.
A month, yeah.
About a month. Started work there as a labourer to start off with, and they knew that I can speak a little bit. And they put me into a machine shop, with doing odd jobs in the machine shop. And then I started learning the machines, and eventually within 6 months I got onto a small lathe machine, and I operated that for the rest of the time. I worked there for 2 years. One of the English chap, actually was the same age as me, who was going to college in the evening one day, and he had an apprenticeship. So as soon as I within 6 months, I picked up the lingo and I said I would like to go to college if they would let me. And they said, no, we can't give you time off. You can go to college on your own. So on the following September, I joined evening classes, and I was doing 3 evenings at college for the rest of the year, whole year. Took English, maths and science, those 3 subjects, because I was always mechanically minded. Besides, I wanted to learn English properly. And I was really excellent at maths anyway, so I wanted to further the career on the maths side. So I took those 3 subjects and I studied for a whole year. So that was 1.5 years after I started. In fact, I didn't start in September. The 1st September I started the work. It was the following September I started college. So 1.5 years, just over 1.5 years, I studied while I'm working there. And then I said to my father, this is no good, it's not getting me anywhere. Other people are allowed to go to college while they're working on a day release, and I'm not. And by doing evening colleges, I'm not going to get anywhere. So my father was quite helpful, and he said, well, if you feel you can do full-time college, by all means you can go, I can support you. So I enrolled the following September. By that time I had a year in college part-time, polishing up the English and carrying on with the subjects I wanted to. So I went full-time college for 2 years. To study.
What subject?
I took engineering subject. Again, those 3 subjects I mentioned, that's English, science, maths and physics. And on top of that, the 5th subject was technical drawing. Because I wanted to be engineer at that time. So I took those subjects, and I took GCSE at the end of 2 years, and I passed those at O levels. Further to that, I can carry on for months. I then come out of the college, and I thought, well, I got to find a job now. And it was so difficult, even with the GCE O levels, at 5 subject passed. I couldn't get a proper job.
Why?
Like by that time I was 17 and a half, I think, and I couldn't get an apprenticeship because by that time I was too old.
Okay.
Yeah. They took people at 16. Yeah, and I was too old then. So obviously they couldn't take me on, and there were other students within my class who went on because there was an age difference. And one of the one of the lecturer there, supported me all the way, and at the end I thought, I finished college in July, and I couldn't get anything for a couple of 3 months, and I thought, this is no good. So I decided to go to RAF, join the RAF. One of the teacher, the maths teacher actually, says, you don't want to do that. He stopped me going there. He says, and he explained to me, he said, look, and that's the first time it come home to me that there was discrimination.
What did he say to you?
He said that, can you remember in India, if I was to come to India and I want a job and you want a job, who would get job first? And I said, well, whoever's best. Says, no, it doesn't work that way. Says, you would get the job there first before I do, because I'm different to them. So he says, you go into RAF, you're not going to have the opportunity to progress because you won't be given the chance to progress because of this difficulty. So he says, don't worry, says, I'll find you a job. And he must have had a connections in education, so he got me an interview at college, at school, comprehensive school, doing a technician's job. So it was lab technician, and I had the physics, I had the maths, so I was sort of qualified enough to take on that job.
What was the school?
Highfield School. It is comprehensive school, which is a Highfield, not very far from here.
And this is, you were how old at the time? 17 and a half?
Yeah, about 17 and a half, yeah. So I took on the post then, and I stayed there for a year. I was still studying in the evenings because I still wasn't satisfied that I got GCE levels. I didn't want to stop there, so I was still studying while I was working there anyway, and still doing the engineering courses.
Very briefly, what was it like working there? Were there other black people there? Were there other Asian people there?
No, there was only me in the whole of the staff. But the staff, my colleagues were pretty good. They were supportive. There was only 4 of us anyway, so there's 1 girl and 3 of us men, and we got it quite well. And I was studying engineering subject, as I said earlier on, and within a year I found a job in Bilston College. So I moved on to engineering technician rather than lab technician.
Right.
Yeah, so I progressed a little bit more, and I carried on studying while I was there, and they were kind enough to give me a day release as well. So I done the craft course to the full, and I carried on until advanced level of ONC. Right. And 3 years, I think, first 3 years I studied at Bilston College while I'm working there, and then I had to move on to Wolfram College. In them days, that it was called Wolfram College, to do the ONC and HNC. I passed the ONC in the first year, and then second year was the HNC, and I failed. So I changed the course into craft course afterward, and I carried on studying the craft course until full technological certificate, and I achieved that at Wolverhampton Polytechnic in those days. And that wasn't enough for me. I was still working at Bilston College, but I knew that with that certificate I could do teachers training.
Right.
And I went on to do the teachers training. I left the job and done a teachers training for 1 full year again.
Again, were you a rarity? Were there other people on these courses from minority backgrounds?
There were.
How many? What was the percentage?
Within my class, there were 3 of us.
Out of how many people?
Out of probably 15, 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But within the course itself, there were 3 more in higher classes than me. I mean, a couple of years before us, but doing the same course. But I think, you know, we concentrated and we studied, and at the end of the day, I wanted to achieve what I wanted to achieve, and I went ahead and done it. So I had full tech cert, went on to teachers training, and I became a full-time lecturer in engineering subject. So I came back to Bilston College. There wasn't a vacancy there full-time, so I'd done a part-time for a couple of months. Then went on to Handsworth Technical College.
How old were you, by the way, at the time of the the part-time lecturing post at Bilston College?
Part-time lecturing, I must have been about 23, 24,
Okay.
something like that. Then I carried on to find the full-time post, and I found one at Handsworth Technical College. But that didn't relate to what I studied for. I was having to take other subjects. So within about 18 months, I found another post at Brooklyn Technical College.
Where is that?
That's in Birmingham.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went there, and that was more related to my practical work, and I wanted to do practical work with sort of engineering subjects in theory. I worked there for nearly 4 years and a bit. Within the 4 years, I had 3 chances of promotions,
Mm-hmm.
and every time I didn't get it.
Do you
And
know why?
I think it was partly because I was the only black person there,
Mm-hmm.
and partly because I didn't have the industrial experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they gave me the reason as I didn't have the industrial experience background, because I sort of more or less just worked in a factory 1 year, and then rest of my time was in education.
Can you give me another reason or a reason as to why you think it could be you weren't promoted because you were black?
I certainly felt that I had certainly had the capability of doing the job. I was more academically qualified than the people who actually been promoted, and I felt that I'm not going to get anywhere here.
Mm-hmm. Did they have more industry experience or not?
Yes, they had.
They had.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take that away from them, but you know, the post. At the end of the day, it's the post you were doing. It's the work you're doing, and if you're capable of doing that work, then you should be given the chance. But I didn't get that. 3 times I've been passed over, so at the end I got fed up. Just over 4 years I worked there, and said that's not for me.
And what next?
Like I left the job and went into full-time business. Which was insurance. I had a friend who was doing insurance, selling insurance policies, and I was doing part-time while I was working full-time in the education anyway. So I talked to him and I said, look, I want to break into full-time now, because I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with the education. So he says, yeah, I can get you agencies. So he got me 2 agencies to start off with. Then I started work on my own, in my own business, and I gradually built up to full insurance broker, and I had a number of agencies with insurance companies, and I've done that for many years.
So where did that business operate from?
That business operated initially from Lime Street. I had a house in Lime Street.
Lime Street is in what area?
In Penfields.
Penfields, okay.
Yeah. So I started it there. And then I bought this place. So I started, the business is still carrying on.
And this place is
in Poplar Road.
Which is?
And it's Penfields again, yeah. Yeah. So that's my working career. So I carried on with that business for a number of years, full time, until the competition started creeping in. And I was mainly dealing with general business, which is car insurance, house insurance, shop insurance, factory insurance. When the direct lines started coming in, the competition increased, and the companies I had the agencies with, their premium started going up and up. So obviously my business started to decline.
Right.
And on top of that, at that time, a new law came out for the financial advisors, whereby you cannot operate, you cannot advise anyone regarding finances unless you're a qualified insurance agent. And that qualification I took exams for. There's 3 steps. There's one step, it's called FPC, Financial Advisors Certificate, Financial Planning Certificate. I took the first one, I passed it. Second one I studied for, and just before I take the exam, I had to go back to India because my father took ill. He was in India at that time, so I had to go back, and I had to stay there nearly 4 months because he was so ill.
What was wrong with him?
He had a back problem, and they operated on him, and that didn't cure anything. In fact, it got him worse. So that's why I had to stay a long time. When I came back, my mind was still over there, and I just couldn't take the exam. And because the law was so strict that I couldn't operate without that license. So I had to drop the life business, life pension and savings. So that left me with only general business, and general business was declining anyway. So I had to then start finding a job because I couldn't survive on the business I was running.
So what kind of job?
So then I found a job. This is coming into 1992. I found a job in social services where I work now as an interpreter, translator for Gujarati language, because my Gujarati was powerful anyway, and I also learned English, and I know enough English to be able to translate at that time. So I took that job on full time while I'm still carrying on with my part-time business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that took me back on my feet, but that didn't stop the family problem. I still had to go back and forth to India. Number of years, since 92, when the first time I went for my father's ill health, I've been going virtually once a year.
How many years?
For 9 years. In fact, I'm still going once a year now, and my father's not there anymore.
Mm.
Yeah. So for father I had to go 3-4 times in that period, but after that my mother had a problem, and for her I wanted to bring her over here, and because she was here in the first place before, and my father and mother both were here. They retired and went back.
Roughly around when?
Late 80s.
Okay.
They went back. Yeah. My mother was then on her own, so I wanted to bring her back. And because she only had the Indian passport, even though she was retired and getting pension from here, they wouldn't allow her in. They wouldn't give her the visa. So I had to actually go back and fight with the British High Commission over there. I said, what's the reason? What reason can you give me that she can't enter UK again? This is because her application wasn't right. I said, what was right and wrong? Said, she applied for temporary visa, visitor visa. So what difference does that make? So we knew that she was going to stay there. So I said, what difference does that make, whether she stays there or come back here? She has indicated that she wants to come back, and that's why she applied for the visitor's visa. Right? But they weren't convinced that she was going to come back and she was going to stay there, and she applied on false pretense.
How old was she, by the way, at this stage?
She must have been 66, 67, probably then.
And she had lived in Britain for how many years, roughly? She went back in the late 80s and came here when?
She must have lived here for nearly 15 years. She worked here as well. She paid tax. So I went back because I corresponded from here, but you know how it is. The correspondence never get to the right people. So I went back and fought with them and just argued with them that, look, she's having pension. Her pension's in actual fact in the bank there, accumulating. She doesn't need any money here. She's got enough here. And she wants to preserve what she's got here. And that's why she wants to come back. She don't want to stay there, even though I want her to stay there, right? Because she's on her own now, right? But she wants to come back, and there's nothing I can do about it. And that's why she's applied for the visitor's visa. So, well, you know, we weren't convinced that she was going to come back. But I said, so what? She didn't come back. She wasn't going to live off the benefits because she got pension coming there.
So what was the outcome?
So the outcome was, hey, if that's what you're saying, then you can take her with you. So they gave her visa there and then, because they didn't have an argument then.
For how long, and how long was she here?
She stayed here only a couple of 3 months, and she went back. Because she didn't want to stay. We got farms there, house there, and all the equipment. She wanted to preserve that. So she went back. And as soon as she went back, within 3 months, she passed away. And she passed away in a way that she was murdered, actually, because she was in her house on her own at night. And that was the biggest trauma for me.
If you don't mind me asking, how do you know she was murdered? I mean, was...
Right, I had the telephone on the same day, obviously, from there, to call me over. And they had to, because I asked her, so what's the problem? So they had to tell me that my mother's died. They didn't tell me how. Right? See, right? And I only found out where I went there, because there was a police case and the police were about, and they locked the house and they done all the forensic and everything else go with it. Then they told me what has actually happened. And it turned out that the thieves came in during the night. She must have woken up and she must have recognized who they were, and that's why she had to be killed. That was the biggest tragedy, and I was broken down from there on. And nothing goes right from there on, actually, for me.
How did she die?
Somebody actually cut her throat, the main veins, with the grass cutter, we call it, can't say. They just cut her there, and that's it. That was it.
And she lived by herself.
So
who were the people that found you from India to say?
My uncle, my uncle, and there is a cousin brothers, and they sort of found me to call me over. And from there on, I mean, I had to look after everything, sorted everything out before I come back. So again, I had to, spend a lot of time there to sort things out because there was nobody else to do that anymore. And at that time, I think I stayed a couple of months and then come back and carried on working.
All your parents' daughters are in this country as well?
Yeah, my sisters are all here.
And how were they affected by
They were,
goings on?
yeah, they were affected virtually the same as I am actually, but because I was the eldest, I took the brunt of it because, as far as our culture is concerned, the eldest person, especially brother, because I'm the only son, I took the whole responsibility and I had to take the whole responsibility. My sister's married and they're on their own, so they got their own sort of family and husbands to look after.
Earlier on you said there was a court case, and did they ever convict anyone?
No, well, the police case, but in India, nothing gets solved until you have the time and money to spend, right? You need to spend a lot of money to get anything done by the police. I mean, police has their own responsibility, but it's so corrupt as it is that unless you pay money, they wouldn't do their job. And I wasn't prepared to do that because I thought that my mother's gone now. Whatever happens, I'm not going to bring her back. So why should I spend money and time? Because I got a house here and I got a job here to carry on with. My life doesn't stop there. So I decided against it and come back and left them to sort it out. If they can find somebody, they find it. If they don't, then there's nothing I can do about it. Because even if you have spent money, you have to be there to push them all the time.
Sure.
And I haven't got that time to do it.
So, you said things haven't been right since then. Do you want to expand on that in any way?
Well, it's still going backward and forward to India, isn't it? Because it's there was still a lot of farms left behind, unattended. So I had to give it to somebody else to manage it, and then keep an eye on it so that it retains ours. Otherwise, I mean, in India, if you don't keep an eye on it, whoever's managing the farms, they can, within few years, they say, well, we've been managing for so long, it's ours.
Right.
And if they don't say that it's ours, then they would say, well, you can't give it to somebody else. We'll still manage it the way we are. And when they manage it, they're not going to give you anything. And I have found that within 2 years that, I didn't get any income from the farm, even though it was a large farm. My mother was making enough for herself and save from the farm. That's why her pension was accumulated here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I knew that there was an income, but I didn't get anything back. So I had to keep going back to make changes into the management. And then finally, last year I went back and sell most of the land so that I don't have to worry about it.
So how does that make you feel now that you've sold?
It's a bit better, a bit more relaxed now. That, okay, the money's there now anyway, so, and unless the bank go bankrupt, the money's there and the farm not there, so, nobody's going to take it away from me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was religion a part of your life? Has it been a part of your life?
Yes and no. I'm not very strict religion person myself. I do believe in God, but only to the certain extent that the God is with me all the time and He's watching me all the time what I do. I don't have to do anything to show other people whether I believe in God or not. So I don't practically go to temple and pray. I pray within me. I remember God within me. I do worship at home, especially to my mom and dad, and God together. But that's as far as it goes. I don't make a show of worshipping out in public, because to me, I don't need to show other people I'm worshipping or I think about God and I'm religion.
What religion were you born into?
Hindu. Yeah. But that doesn't sort of stop me to say that I'm not Hindu. I am Hindu through and through. But it's not what you believe, it's what you do, what counts. And only thing I believe and do is that I will always do things right as far as I'm concerned. If it's wrong and somebody points out that it's wrong, then I'll try and correct it. If I don't argue with it, because I would try and prove that what I'm doing is right. But if I'm proven that it's not right, then I'd rectify it. But knowingly, I would not think about harming other person or other things. If I can't help them, then I won't think about harming them. If I can't help them, then I'll say, no, I can't help you. Right? But I'll never think I should do something to hinder them. And I've always been like that.
How do you think Wolverhampton has changed over the years in terms of race relations?
Quite a lot. As I said earlier on, from the beginning, I felt that I wasn't given the chance of progression in my working life. And I found that outside, away from me, is also that there was racism. Especially in Wolverhampton, there was racism all the time. And you hear other people saying that they end up doing the jobs what other people don't want. But then we here to do the work, and whatever jobs people can find within their capacity, they do it. But when somebody's actually put some hard work in, educated themselves, and they still can't get the progression they need, then there's something wrong, and that has been going on. And I don't think that has actually wiped out. It's still there to certain degrees. It's less probably because a lot of people put a fight against that. But it's still there.
Why does it exist, do you think?
Because we are different race. It's as simple as that. A lot of people think that different race, what's that got to do with it? And I do believe that. What's that got to do with it? If I'm able to do it or I'm not able to do it. Yeah? Race should not come into it. But it does. And I then revert back to myself. Say if there was 2 applicants and I got a job, I'm employing someone, and there's 2 applicants. One is my sister and one is another girl, and they're both capable equally. Who would I take on? It would be my sister. If I do it otherwise, I would be wrong. Not I would be wrong, but I would be doing this just not justice to my sister. Yeah, and that goes through. That goes through in this race. That if there was a Gora and me, both equally qualified, equally experienced, and equally capable, right? And if it's a white firm, they'll pick Gora without any hesitation than me, because I'm different race.
So you're saying that still exists?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Quite a lot, do you think?
I think it's reduced because people can fight against it. But because when it happens without a reason, then people can fight. But if there is a reason, you can't fight. Right? It's what I would say, human nature. I would put it down to, right? But there are jobs where you're not allowed to progress on because of your race, and that's because people are either unable to fight against that, or don't know how to, or they're incapable of doing the job in the first place. But I think, a lot of higher posts now goes to merits rather than race. Then that's sort of middle class boundaries. If you go any higher than that, then I think it again racism. I can take that from my own organization, which is in a council, local council, right? How many ethnic minority people are in management? You can count on your fingers, one hand, right?
Off the top of your head, how many are there? Roughly.
I'm struggling to find one, actually, to be honest. Yeah, there was one in management, in social services, and there's another one in equal opportunity, not equal opportunity, race equality, I think. And they both left the job, and they haven't been replaced by another Asian guy. And our chief exec is obviously West Indian guy, so he's ethnic minority, and there are sort of lower level management, there might be few, but at a higher level there isn't one. And that doesn't sort of say that we're not capable, but we haven't been given the chance to get up there.
Do you have any views on people from different backgrounds having relationships, maybe marrying, that sort of thing?
I have, and you probably call me racist, and I know full well that it could term as racist, but I believe, because I believe in our culture, and within our culture, if you marry within the culture, then you can sustain that culture. Having said that, there are good and bad in all cultures, but I think there's more good in our culture than there is bad. And I would like to retain that within our culture, because I think our culture is rich.
Can you give me a definition for what you mean by our culture? How broadly,
right.
Or
how broadly, right?
Speaking, what does
yeah.
culture mean?
What I would say is the way we live as a unit.
Sorry,
family.
again, who is we?
Asian.
Okay. So
Okay.
you're talking about Asians.
Asian
in
culture in general.
General. Okay.
Yeah, Asian culture in general. I think we are more able to live as a unit, family unit, than any other culture. Even though it's changing now in last 5-10 years, I think it has changed to some degree, and it's changing even faster now. That young people, as soon as they get married, they get their own house and they move out. But that's as far as it goes. They're still family unit, and they still live as a family, even though they're living in separate houses, right? So there are more close knits than there is in any other culture. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so although you said Asians should marry within their own culture. How strict should that be? Because obviously there's so many different types of Asians. Can a Sikh, Punjabi marry?
I know what you're trying to get at. Yeah. Okay.
Is that acceptable
Right.
or not?
To me, it's to some degree it's acceptable, but you probably say it's double standard, but it's not. If you look at a bit more closer to our culture, Asian as a whole, and then Asian people coming from different part of India, the way they live is different, right? So within our culture there are different cultures.
Okay, just then you were saying, even if you look at the whole of Asia, but even then within India, then within the Asian culture, there are many differences.
Differences, yeah. Differences in a way that the overall pictures is the same, but the way we live individually from the different parts of India is different. Yeah.
Can you give an example?
To start off with, we have a different religion. Yeah, and so whatever you do within the religion is different to one another. Yeah. The way some of the way that do things in the house is different to each other, and the language is obviously different. Yeah. So there are lots of little things which are different.
And your view is that we shouldn't mix in that sense, in terms of marriage?
Depending on the cultural background, and I would, if I had my choice, I would prefer people to remain within their own cultures, within their own segments.
And this philosophy, does this apply to white Europeans and African Caribbean people as well, do you think?
I would think so, yeah, because then there would be a better management of the lives, I think, because there are conflicts between the different cultures, and that's when the problem starts. That's my philosophy, but other people might say different.
What do you think you've contributed to Wolverhampton?
I've educated myself, and I've done as good as a next person for Wolverhampton. I paid my taxes to Wolverhampton all my life, and I took out whatever Wolverhampton has to offer. So I don't think in any way I have done anything wrong for Wolverhampton. And I would say the same, more or less, that Wolverhampton haven't did justice me as far as my life is concerned. maybe I didn't progress the way I wanted to progress within my career. But you know, it happens to everyone. You can't have everything what you want. But generally, I'm quite happy that I stayed in Wolverhampton. Even though, I mean, who knows, I might be more happier somewhere else, but I'm quite content with Wolverhampton. I've seen the changes in Wolverhampton, both industry-wise and development-wise, and you know, facility-wise, and I got no qualm about that.
Are you looking forward to the future?
I'm looking forward to retiring. I wish I could retire tomorrow. I want to relax now. I've worked hard enough.
What's your idea of relaxation?
Want to be able to do what I want to do, not what I have to do. That's my idea of retirement. That's my idea of relaxation. Because if you can do what you want to do, then you're more relaxed. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to thank you, Babu, for sharing your experiences with me. Thank you.
No problem.